Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into something really interesting you sent our way.
Oh, yeah. What do we got?
It's a lecture by Neville Goddard. He Dreams in Me, the second version, from March 13th, 1967.
Ah, Neville Goddard. Okay. Yeah, getting into his material can definitely, well, it can send you down some rabbit holes.
It really can. This one focuses on this, I guess, pretty radical idea
What you?
that your own wonderful human imagination, as he puts it, it isn't just something you have, it is God, the actual creative power.
Right. That's central to his whole thing, isn't it? The idea that imagination isn't just fantasy, it's the core reality.
Yeah.
It's God in action within you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it needs some unpacking for sure. Our imagination is God. He pulls from the Bible here, both Old and New Testaments.
Mhm.
And he points out something I found really interesting. You know, in the Old Testament, you get these calls for God to wake up. Like in Psalm 44, rouse thyself. Why sleepest thou, O Lord? Awake.
Yeah, like God's asleep on the job or something.
Kind of. But then fast forward to the New Testament and the call flips. It's directed at us, at humans.
Well,
Like Ephesians 5.1c, awake, O sleeper, and arise from the dead.
and Christ shall give you light.
Right.
That's a key shift.
It is. So what's going on there? Why the switch?
Well, I think Neville sees it as profound.
Yeah.
It suggests the divine isn't this, distant king you have to beg things from. It's a power that's actually dormant right here inside you, inside your own consciousness.
Okay.
He even quotes William Blake, doesn't he? Something
Yeah.
about,
For man is all imagination, and God is man, and exists in us, and we in him.
right, the eternal body of man is the imagination, and that is God himself. Blake really got it. According to Neville, it nails that core idea.
It really does. So that's our mission for this deep dive. Let's get into the practical side of this. Look at the real-life stories Neville uses in the lecture.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Because it's not just abstract theory for him.
No, not at all. We're talking experiences with time, dreams, even how a little kid sees the world. Prepare to maybe have some assumptions challenged.
Definitely.
Yeah.
These stories are meant to show how reality might be much more fluid, more interconnected than we usually think.
Yeah, more shaped by our inner world.
Exactly. They're invitations, really, for you, the listener, to consider the power you might actually hold within your own imagination.
Okay, let's dive right into one. This involves someone pretty well known, Hugh Downs.
Hugh Downs, yeah,
Huh.
from the Today Show back then. Neville says he was watching one day.
And Downs shared this dream he'd had.
That's the story. Downs apparently dreamt he was watching tapes of his show. But, the weird thing was he didn't recognize the people on the tape.
Okay.
So in the dream, he asks the producer about them. And the producer just says, oh, that show, that tape's next Friday.
And then it actually happened.
According to Downs, via Neville, yes, exactly as dreamt. And Downs insisted he had no memory of seeing those people before the actual taping.
Wow. Okay, so Neville's take on this is where it gets really interesting, right?
Yeah. He doesn't just say it's a premonition. He calls it merging with the future by living an experience that he does not remember.
Merging with the future. That sounds active, like his imagination actually went there.
Sort of stepped into it, yeah. Even if his conscious waking mind didn't recall the preview, so to speak.
So the implication for us, I mean, could our own dreams be doing that, giving us glimpses?
That's the question it raises, isn't it? It challenges that whole idea of time as this fixed, straight line. Maybe our imagination can, jump around on that line.
Makes you really wonder. Okay, let's shift gears. Another story. This one's about a 72-year-old woman and an autograph book.
Ah, yes, the autograph book. This one is layered. It touches on the past.
Right. So people used to have these books, collect verses.
A common custom, yeah.
Yeah.
And in her dream, she gets one. And she really wants her father, who she admired a lot, to write a verse in it.
But she thought he wouldn't.
In waking life, yeah, she figured he'd just say, oh, I don't know any verses, that kind of thing.
So what happened in the dream then?
Well, this is where it gets resourceful. In the dream, she remembers a verse she wants him to write. She commits it to memory right there in the dream.
Okay.
Then she asks him, and just like she expected, he says, I don't know any verses. So she recites the one she just memorized.
And he liked it.
He did. Agreed to write it down for her. And interestingly, in the dream itself, she felt like she was maybe 10 or 11 years old.
And when she woke up, did she remember all this?
The dream itself was a bit fuzzy, hazy. But the verse, crystal clear. She remembered the exact verse.
Wow.
And then later, she tells her daughter about the dream. And the daughter immediately pipes up and recites the same exact verse.
No way.
Yeah. Turns out the daughter had asked for the actual autograph book years before, and knew everything in it by heart.
That's incredible. And wasn't there something confirming her age in the dream, too?
Yes, she remembered her old fifth-grade teacher having signed the book, which would put her right around that 10 or 11 age mark from the dream.
The details just keep lining up. And there was a drawing involved, too.
Right. Also in the dream, she asks her dad to draw something. He says no at first, but she coaxes him.
And what does he draw?
A really vivid scene, a little boy on a farm holding a big basin over his head, and there's a billy goat charging right at him.
Whoa.
And she said in the dream, she felt the impact coming. She felt the goat about to hit the basin. And she remarked on how good the drawing was.
So how does Neville read this one? It feels different from the Hugh Downs story, more backward-looking.
Exactly. Neville calls this merging with the actual past and reliving an experience of long ago.
Merging with the past this time.
Right. The level of specific detail, the forgotten verse popping up, the daughter knowing it, the specific drawing, that sensory feeling, it all points, for Neville, to her imagination tapping into a real past event.
Like the walls between past and present just dissolved in the dream state.
Precisely. It makes you reconsider time again, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's not just linear. Maybe imagination can access different points.
It really does. Okay, let's look at another angle. A totally different perspective. A 4-year-old child's dreams.
Ah, yes. Neville's friend had this little neighbor. This story is quite charming, but also deep.
Deep how?
It gets at that kind of innate knowing kids sometimes have, you know. Before we teach them all the rules about reality, this little boy moves in next door. He's only 4.
Yeah?
And he immediately tells Neville's friend, "I've always known you." Like, forever. Their connection was eternal, not just this lifetime.
From a 4-year-old. Wow, did he mention specifics?
He did. He started talking about some past event. So the friend naturally asks him, well, how long ago was that?
And what did he say? Did he give a number?
Nope. He points to a bush nearby, one that was blooming, and he says the years were like all the leaves on that bush. Countless.
That's poetic.
Yeah.
And imaginative.
Isn't it? And then he adds something about the future, too.
Yeah.
He says he'll know her when his head reaches the sky, a future state.
Amazing. But didn't he also have a silly dream?
He did. Who started giggling about it?
Yeah.
Said it was too silly to tell.
But they coaxed it out of him.
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah.
He said in his dream, everything is nothing.
Everything is nothing. Okay, that's pretty abstract for a 4-year-old.
Right. And when they asked him, like, what things, he gives examples. Toilet paper is nothing. The telephone is nothing. Just everyday things.
Fascinating. Just grappling with big ideas in this very direct way.
Totally uninhibited. And when the friend asked if he just saw this nothingness, he insisted, no, it happened. It was real. But he couldn't actually describe what nothing looked like.
And these weren't one-off things for him.
Apparently not. These kinds of experiences were recurring. He shared them often.
So what's Neville's takeaway from the child's perspective? How does it connect?
He links it to this idea. He says, modern man now proves the truth that the entire space-time history of the world is laid out, and we only become aware of increasing portions of it, successively.
Okay, unpack that a bit. The whole history is already there.
That's the idea, like a giant scroll already written.
Mm-hmm.
And we just experience it bit by bit. The child's dreams, in their innocent way, seem to tap into this larger reality, this pre-existing wholeness.
So we're all kind of merged with a dream state, even now.
That's Neville's point for you, the listener. You are constantly merged with a dream, whether you realize it or not. Right. Which brings us back to his main message.
The call to awaken. Awaken our imagination.
Yes, he says, your own wonderful human imagination is trying to instruct him, trying to persuade him, trying to get him aroused. Like this power inside wants to be noticed.
It's an interesting image. A dreamer in man moving from the center outward.
Exactly. Moving from deep within, influencing you, until dreamer and consciousness become one. And when that happens, well, your whole sense of reality shifts.
It's not just about interpreting dreams you have at night, then.
No, it's about seeing the dreamlike quality of waking life itself.
And realizing you can change the dream, modify it, or even completely transform it.
That's the potential, yes. He even links this to death, suggesting death isn't an end, just shifting to another dream state.
Wow. Okay, and this idea of agreeing to dream in concert.
Yeah, he suggests that initially, as divine beings, as gods, we agreed to this whole shared experience. He points to the prodigal son parable.
How does that fit?
Well, the father says to the older son, all that I have is yours, but also about the younger son. Your brother was dead, and he's alive again. He was lost and is found. Neville sees hints there of pre-existence, of this cycle of experience.
That is a different way to read that. Okay, he also shares a really personal vision tied to an unsigned letter.
Right. Someone wrote to him they were awake, just looking at fish in a pond.
Uh-huh.
And they clearly hear this male voice say, "You have run the race, you have fought the good fight."
Mm.
They knew the quote from Paul to Timothy.
Okay, powerful words, but it didn't end there.
No. That same night, as they were falling asleep, a voice came from inside them, from within.
Saying the same thing.
Almost. It echoed it, but with a shift. "I have run the race, I have fought the good fight, I have kept the faith."
Ah, the I. The personal realization.
Exactly. Neville sees that as huge. It's the fulfillment of some inner commitment made way back at the start of this whole dream, a personal knowing.
And there's a scripture he connects this to, something about one standing among you.
Yes. Among you stands one whom you do not know. He points out the Greek word for among actually means radiating from within.
Radiating from within. Okay.
And stands it implies a continuous presence, a covenant. So this awakened consciousness, this imagination, it's not out there, it's in you, always there, even if you're not aware of it.
Which leads to how he sees suffering.
Right.
If this power is within, why do we suffer?
He calls us sharers in creation's cruel dream, a dream we agreed to, as those gods, the Elohim he mentions.
But why agree to a cruel dream?
The idea is we entered death's door, the human skull, chose to experience limitation, mortality, to dream we were just men.
But not forever.
No. The promise is awakening, awakening back to our original power. And crucially, he says you can start experimenting now. Use your imagination. Test it, because there is no final death, just shifts in the dream.
Okay, he gives another dream example from a UCLA professor this time.
Right, someone who'd been to his lectures. This one involves a concert intermission. The professor sees someone in the hall and has this immediate negative thought about them, just judges them instantly.
Okay, we've all done that.
Sure. But then just as quickly, he gets this inner knowing. This person is a very great examiner.
An examiner, what does that mean?
Well, it totally changed his feeling. The negativity vanished, replaced by warmth, respect. Then, later in the dream, he's taking an exam.
An actual exam?
Seems so. And as he finishes, he feels he should write a heading. Name, Monday, 5 p.m.
But there was more about the time.
Yes. A stronger feeling comes. Write the start time. Which he does. 4.10. And as he writes 4.10, he feels this intense thrill, like that time is hugely important.
4.10, okay. And when he woke up?
He hears a voice. Deep, male, authoritative. Saying, "Not everyone who says, 'Lord, Lord,' enters in, but he who does the will of the Father who is in heaven."
Wow. Heavy stuff. How does Neville link this?
He connects that voice directly to the Father's voice, citing John, where Jesus says the words aren't his, but the Father's, and "I and my Father are one." The professor felt he had done the Father's will.
And the 4.10 time. Does that mean something specific?
Neville thinks so. He brings up the 10th hour from the Gospel of John. That's when Andrew found Jesus.
The 10th hour.
And in some old mystery traditions, the 10th hour corresponds to 4 o'clock.
Ah, 4, 10. Okay, I see. And the number 10 itself.
10, or yod in Hebrew, is symbolic. It represents God's creative power, the hand of God.
The hand. Like our hands that create things.
Exactly. Our ability to shape the world with our hands connects us to that divine creativity. So 4.10 in the dream, Neville sees it as the unfolding, the activation of that creative power in the professor.
And the person he disliked who became the examiner.
Neville suggests that person represented something the professor disliked in himself or the world,
Right.
something he judged.
Okay.
Seeing them as an examiner reframed it. It became a challenge. Can you use your creative power to change this, to overcome your judgment?
Interesting. And didn't the professor have another dream about 4.10? A recurring one?
He did. On October 23rd, he dreams he's teaching. He looks at his watch. 4 O'Hara. Time passes in the dream. Feels like an hour maybe. Looks again. Still 4.10.
Huh.
He thinks, "Oh, my watch must be broken." Then he wakes up and he's not even wearing a watch.
Whoa. So the repetition.
Neville connects that to Scripture too. A repeated dream means it's fixed. God, or the creative power, will bring it about soon. It just reinforces the significance of that 4.10 moment for the professor's awakening.
So it all keeps coming back to imagination as this divine power within us.
Absolutely. Neville hammers this home. Your wonderful human imagination is God. It's the grand I amness in man.
And if you really identify with a desired state in your imagination.
Until it feels real to you, subjectively.
Yeah.
then it has to objectify. It has to show up in your world. That's the principle.
He even questions reality itself, doesn't he? How real a dream feels while you're dreaming.
Right. It feels totally real then. Just this waking state feels real now. So
Yeah.
what is real ultimately? It makes you ponder.
Which leads him to say, the whole vast world is all finished. It's already done.
That's his view.
Yeah.
It's all laid out. And you and I are merged in a dream, and we are waking from the dream.
So it's not about creating from scratch, but waking up within the already finished creation.
Kind of like that, yeah. And remember the contrast. Old Testament, God, wake up. New Testament, humanity, you wake up.
Yeah.
It's that shift. God became human so humans could realize they are God, in essence.
The lady by the fish pond hearing the voice within, that illustrates it perfectly.
Exactly, it's an inner awakening.
So the challenge for everyone listening is test it. Test this power.
Yes. Test your own creative power. Find out who you really are. He suggests those moments where people hear Scripture internally. That's the story of Christ unfolding inside them.
And he reassures people. Everyone has kept the faith, agreed to this dream.
On some fundamental level, yes. We all agreed to come into this dream in concert. Then he quotes Shelley. Something about being lost in visions.
Yeah. He has awakened from the dream of life. 'Tis we who lost in stormy visions keep with phantoms the unprofitable strife. Like, we're still caught in the dream until we wake up individually.
Exactly.
And God dreams in me. You can catch this happening. Like when you just think of a friend.
Yeah, that spontaneous creative fancy. You think of someone, boom, their image is there. That's imagination at work. And that imagination, he says, is one with the God of the universe.
Yeah.
Working deep inside, moving towards the surface.
So the practical technique is conceive a scene, the wish fulfilled.
Right. Create a scene in your mind that implies your desire is already a fact. Then merge with it. Feel it real subjectively. Experience it.
And then what? Just drop it.
Then you return to your normal state, this current dream. You reflect. In the past, people might have dismissed that inner feeling as just, hallucination. But when you understand the process, you gain confidence.
Yeah.
The subjective experience is the precursor to objective fact.
He also talks about keeping the Sabbath in a really unique way.
Yeah, not just Saturday or Sunday. It's a state of being.
After the creative work.
Exactly. After the sixth day, that's when you've imagined your state, felt it real, judged it good. The Sabbath is the rest after that.
Resting how?
Resting from effort. Being undisturbed. Not feeling like you have to make it happen anymore. Because subjectively, it's already done.
So trust the inner work.
Completely. He uses the analogy of creative pregnancy. Once conceived, you leave it alone. Let it gestate. Don't interfere.
Or risk mental miscarriage.
Right. Don't negate your work with doubt or worry or trying to force things. Let it unfold.
Okay, finally, he tackles the big question, Christ coming again.
Yet people always ask about the second coming. Will he appear without physically?
And Neville says?
No. It's not an external event. It's an awakening within. He constantly points to Paul. Christ in you is the hope of glory. That's the mystery of religion.
So Christ, for Neville, isn't just Jesus, the historical man.
He sees Christ as the cosmic Christ, a universal divine principle buried dormant in every single person.
And the stories in the Gospels. Jesus' life.
They're the tale. A powerful story designed to capture our imagination, to convey that inner truth. It's an allegory for what happens within us.
Like, I am Mary and birth to God must give, that kind of idea.
Exactly that. It's an inner birth of that Christ consciousness. He even interprets figures like Sarah and Hagar allegorically.
How so?
Like Paul does in Galatians. One represents Jerusalem above, freedom. The other, Jerusalem below, slavery. It shows the Bible often has deeper, non-literal meanings, even in genealogies.
Right. It's pointing inwards.
Always inwards.
Okay, so wrapping this up, the big takeaway from this deep dive into Neville's lecture is pretty clear, isn't it?
I think so. It's powerful. Your own imagination.
Yeah.
It's not just thoughts. It is the divine creative power right there inside you, shaping everything.
And the call is to wake up to it, to start experimenting, to consciously use it.
Yes. Awaken that power. See what happens when you deliberately shape your inner world, knowing it impacts the outer.
So the final thought we want to leave you with is this. Just consider, what if everything you experience, everything seemingly out there, actually originates in this inner dream, in your consciousness?
Yeah, chew on that one. What becomes possible? What limits just dissolve if you truly grasp that and start consciously using this creative force within you.
Definitely something to reflect on. Think about these stories. Think about your own dreams, your own imagination.
It's quite a journey of discovery he invites us on.
It really is. We're excited for you to explore it.